What is up? What is up? We are here. This is the first time that I'm ever doing this live. And like you see in the description, I wanted to get this out right now because I know Carlos and the Monday Night Live crew is going to be talking about this later on this evening. So I just want to put this out there before anybody accuses me of stealing anything that they had to say. So I watched the episode last night before I went to work, and I watched the episode again this morning because the situation was so chaotic that I needed to assess, analyze, rewind. You feel me? So, yeah, so let's just get into it. Hopefully, if you haven't seen the episode, there are going to be some spoilers because I am going to pull up some, well, not pull up, but reference some things from the season that has already come up because there are some inconsistencies and I do have some questions. And I think that somebody hit the nail on the head um, when it comes to what's actually going on. But I wonder if it ever comes out or if it ends up being recognized as such. Because there is somebody sitting at the table that I agree with. Um, but yeah, we're gonna talk about that. So get comfortable because I don't know how long this is gonna be because I could go, honey. But yeah, I think the truth is somewhere in the middle of both of what Portia and Shamea is saying. I think both of them are telling the truth in some capacity, but it's just showing up in a real nasty way. Okay. So in the beginning of the season, right? In the beginning of the season, they have the dinner at Portia's house. And in this episode, they flash back to Shamea. I mean, because Shamea ends up saying, "Oh, you said we were like sisters, right?" And in that particular scene at Portia's house, where Portia is like, "Oh, I'm not doing this with y'all," because they don't show that part in the episode this week. But what she's actually saying is, when it comes to me and Shamea, I'm not talking about her with y'all because talking about her is like talking about a family member. And so when we fast forward and Portia ends up saying, "Oh, if you're not doing right by me, then there's no way that I'm allow you to be around my child." And on the principal standpoint, I could rock with that because I've given plenty of children back to their parents because I didn't rock with them. And it may sound harsh, I understand Shamia being upset and how that could hurt her because, yeah, it's a personal dig towards her. And yes, it's history repeating itself all over again that the kids are no longer friends because the moms aren't friends, right? So I get it. However, she says that I'm not talking to, I'm not talking about Shamia with y'all, period. Now, put a pin in that. On Instagram, I said that it would have been interesting if Portia and Kelly made up at the dinner when K Michelle was sitting at the table. Now I said that on Instagram. I didn't go into it because Instagram only allows you a certain amount of time. So I couldn't get into all of it. And there was so many things happening in that episode as far as K Michelle and Drew going back and forth. And I am so glad that they have put a pin in that because that is an argument that I'm tired of hearing about because what the fuck is it even about? Okay. It can't be about black. So please move along, Apollo. Get away, Apollo, with this. Okay. So yeah. So I said on Instagram, I think it would have been interesting how the situation would have played out if Portia and Kelly would have made up at the table instead of Portia throwing out the accusation that Kelly was sleeping with this preacher during the BET, whatever, right? And so because Why? Because exactly what happened right now, right? What that would have done, it would have isolated Shamea further earlier. Now, if Porsha and Kelly would have made up before, would Shamea would have offered the townhouse? Probably, because she seems like genuinely that type of person, but it would have looked a little different, right? There are little things that are coming up in this episode from K Michelle, might I add, that is interesting, right? Because K Michelle makes it about her as far as when she's talking to Pinky, as far as like, oh, Shamea said, like, she turns to the car when I guess her, Kelly, and Shamea were in the car together, like, oh, you're the only person that I have. Like, she turned to Kelly and she said that, excluding K Michelle. Could that be the reason why they unfollowed each other on Instagram? I don't know, but I don't really get into that stuff. I like to stay with the business that's going on the show. So, um, K Michelle is explaining to Pinky that while we was in the car, Shamea was just like, "Oh, Kelly, you're the only person that I have." Now, when did that statement come out? Did it come out before the dinner, when they're sitting in Homegirl is sitting in her McDowell's um outfit? And no, was it the McDowell's outfit? No, when they was actually in the house and Shamea kept sipping that wine, child. The way Shamea was sipping the wine when Kelly was brought up, as far as them making up in the room and the intimate moment that they had that certain people were not a part of. Who wasn't a part of that? Angela, Pinky, Shamea, they wasn't a part of that conversation. So now this is another situation where Shamea is excluded from the in crowd. Kelly has inserted herself and garnered support from the rest of the people, including Porsha. They are now friends, and Shamea is sitting at the table sipping that wine. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, the saxophones are going off. The saxophones are ringing in the room, and Shamea is like, hold up, my only friend, the only girl that was riding for me, the girl that I could actually talk shit about, Porsha, is now her friend? What? When did this happen? So if she would have said that comment before she knew that Kelly had made up with Porsha, I could understand like how she's blindsided and how she's even more mad when they get to the dinner, when they're wearing when they actually have the showdown. So at this particular point, Shamea ends up having a conversation with her mom, and she's like, I'm fighting everybody. Pinky also brings this up in the conversation with K Michelle too, that I recognize that she's fighting with everybody, and where like the person that I met, I no longer recognize. K Michelle also recognizes that she no longer recognizes Shamea, and there might be this bigger thing, right? Fine. They have the conversation. Uh Porsha ends up saying that she's uncomfortable with having PJ over at Shamea's house. And like I said, the principle, yes, like we're not rocking together. I'm not going to have my child around you. It's going to be awkward. You're going to force me to be around you, and I don't want to be around you. Like, your child is not going to be the reason that I'm around you if I truly don't want to be around you. My kid would find other friends, I'm sure, like they did, because they were not always as tight as they are or as they was at one point. They were friends growing up from the Carlos King episode, that the interview that Shamea did with him. They were friends as kids. They spent some time apart, and then they got back together right after or either right after or either right after Porsha got married to Cordell. Yeah, because she was in the episode with Kenya at the Miss USA Miss America argument at the Charity Foundation event. So yeah, so When she got married to Cordell is when, according to Shamea, they became tight again. And this is also around the time that Porsha got on the show because she wasn't married to Cordell that much longer. I mean, that long before she got on the show. I think they were married about a year before she got on the show. So if Shamea was in the picture, they had history, yes, and then they became tighter around the time that she got married, which was probably a year before she got on the show. So now she's on the show, and now Shamea brings up again that Porsha was never really happy for her, and that Porsha said, "Oh, you have this X, Y, and Z, this, and that. That let me just have this." And Porsha is denying that. However, I believe that she said that. I believe that she said that. Porsha seems more like the entrepreneurial girl, where Shamea is or was like the clean cut type debutante. And yes, Porsha has that pedigree because of her grandfather and his contribution to the civil rights movement. But then you also have Shamea, who was, in the extracurricular activities. I don't know how, well, obviously her mom owned the daycare. But anyway, that's besides the point. What I'm saying is that they were friends, they broke up, they came back together. The kids will not be friends because the parents are not friends. Now, do I believe that Shamea's mom tried to sleep with her father's brother, or at least did he? I don't know. I don't know. Porsha is really good at playing tennis when it comes to stories, accusations, and things of that nature. And I think that's where Angela tried to take a page out of her book as far as like throwing out these accusations, but they just fell flat, unfortunately. However, Porsha has a way of telling the story that could possibly be true, like the same way that she threw out this whole African man, the pastor on Kelly. Like, do we know that that's actually real? Was there any receipts? We don't know. We don't know. They just moved on. Kelly said something about her, brought up her marriage. The next season, um, Porsha brings up Kelly in her marriage. So it's now they're like playing tennis and they're really good at throwing out these accusations with each other. So is the accusation real? Did Shamea's mother try to sleep with her uncle, her father's brother? Who knows? Who cares? That doesn't matter. I do believe that Porsha did say that I think you should only be a friend of the show, and we could kick it as being friends of the show. You don't need to have a piece of this pie to it when you're doing 5 other things. First of all, let's get into this sidebar, right? Carrie Hilson did an interview somewhere and said, because they brought up the whole Shamea being a part of the group, right? She brought up in this interview that Porsha also auditioned for the show. So when Shamea has the interview with Carlos King and he brings it up, Shamea says she also auditioned for the show. But she didn't know. I mean, not for the show, for the group. And she didn't know. So in the time of them breaking up and getting back together, breaking up, getting back together, Porsha never brought up the fact that, oh yeah, girl, I auditioned for that same group. It never came up. It never came up. Shamea never knew that Porsha auditioned for the same group and obviously didn't get in, but it never came up. So is it possible that Porsha said, look, girl, you did this, this, and that. You was even in the group that I auditioned for that I didn't get in. Can I please just have this peach to myself? Because I understand that. Yeah, can you just support me on this? Can you be my best friend on this? Then Shamea comes on the show. She's being her big bubbly self, and then she ends up befriending everybody. And so now the girl is pregnant. They pregnant at the same time. Is that a coincidence? Is that a coincidence? I ask you. Is it a coincidence? They get married. They have their babies or they're pregnant around the same time. Then homegirl gets married. Porsha gets engaged to Dennis. However, she couldn't go to the girl's wedding, Shamea's wedding, because she had this so-called foot thing that she couldn't sit in what was it? In coach. She had this thing with her leg. The excuses that you make when you don't want to do shit, right? She had a doctor's note. I think that was the season of the doctor's note when she could when she needed to bring Lauren to the camping trip because she needed an emotional support person. She brought the doctor's note. So now she's like she used her injury as to why she couldn't get on a plane to go to Kenya to go to her homegirl's wedding in her new husband's homeland. So either way, right? And then they bring this up on the show. Angela has this thing, and then she creates a narrative about that. And granted, this was a narrative that was already out because when Shamea and Porsha was on the show, that's one of the things that they broke up about. Now, this is when Candy was in the mix. Now, and when Porsha and Phaedra were experiencing their divorce, not at the same time. Porsha got divorced first, and they ended up being closer because at the time, this is when Candy was pregnant with Ace, and so their lives were going in different directions, Phaedra and Candy. And Porsha just came in and broke up the friendship, renamed the group, stand to her frack, to her frick, and they've been bosom buddies ever since. Even down to the point where they could forgive each other about trying to put a whole charge on homegirl because y'all know what happened. And so, yeah, so this whole thing as far as Porsha trying to belittle their friendship in the midst of trying to maintain her position on the show. She is the queen bee on the show. But the real issue is that not the fact that Shamea is mad that their moms or that Porsha said this thing about their moms. The real issue is that she don't have any allies on the show. She doesn't have any allies on the show. The last friend she had just went over to the dark side. She wants to be Porsha's friend. And the fact that Porsha has not been talking to her this whole season, she thinks that she's been getting away with it. Because I've been watching, especially this last episode, very closely. Because for you to, Shamea, to have all of this vitriol for someone, why do you want to be so closely around them every chance you get? You in Porsha's face. Where? You can look back on the episode. I don't have the timestamps, but I've done my research and what I've said is true. When they were sitting at the table where the saxophones were going off and they were talking about the kumbaya moment, she was sitting directly across from Porsha. That's one. Then they get on the bus to go to the fabric store, and they're sitting right across from each other. If you had this much vitriol for somebody, why would you want to sit right across from her on the bus? Are there other seats? Yes, there are other seats. There are like 7 of them. She could have easily sat somewhere else if she was really trying to, be around Porsha, but just be around Porsha. She is in this girl's space. She's in her space. So now at the table, after where they at the dinner or whatever, and they're having this argument, before all of this comes up, she's still choosing. I don't know now at this point, is it her choosing to sit in this space? Or is it production telling her, hey, no, you, then you, then you, then you? Let's create a scene. Let's get the people talking. Let's make it provocative. Get the people going. Because if she had this much vitriol for her from the text messages, right? If she had all of this, because their friendship was fractured from those text messages. Porsha has not been talking to her from those text messages, even when she invited Shamea to her house, and she was even talking about Shamea. She never said anything to Shamea. Okay? Even in the previous episode when Angela was talking to the neighbor and sis had said, no, you was looking for information on Shamea straight up. She don't know who's in the room. She don't know if the camera is there or not. She like, don't try to leave me out there. You was trying to get information on Shamea and X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. And they was tapping each other. They didn't come to her defense because they don't fuck with her. I'm not bringing my child around you if I don't fuck with you. I'm not defending you in the argument if I don't fuck with you. This is not my friend. This is not my fight. Have it. You want to be on this show so bad, right? All these girls coming at you. This is what the show is about. Can you handle it? So now she's being served up, and it's like she's learning in real time. I think Blue ended up saying this, or somebody ended up saying it somewhere else, that she's learning in real time how to be a housewife, right? My other thing to Shamea, because this also came up in the Carlos interview, as far as this whole colorism thing. And this may be a reach, but hold on, just a little while longer, right? As I dive into this briefly. It may be over there, but you can see how it's still in the pond, right? Now, when you think of a trope of the dark-skinned Black girl, African-American girl, or whatever the case, you have obviously these negative connotations, which is why colorism exists, right? But the connotations specifically, even being referenced in other shows like The Proud Family, for instance, that I'm actually going to use for the main example, is the neck rolling, the mean girl, the, she may not have access to resources, so that may mean, food. It may not be like the best clothes. She may be ashy. Case in point, the Proud Family girls. All of them are named after lotion and they're blue because they're ashy. Fast forward to Bye Ashy when Porsha is talking to Kenya, another dark-skinned girl. Granted, Black people are very concerned about their moisturization levels, right? Fair. But when it comes to a dark-skinned girl, you think of her as being the less of. She doesn't have the resources of, right? Versus someone who's light skinned, the pretty girl, she has access. She is moisturized. She is moisturized. She has access to the finer things, whether it be clothes, whether it be whatever. You can even take the image of Whitley versus Kimberly being in the same dorm room on a different world. You could see that they lived very different lives, to the point where Whitley's last name is on one of the buildings. So as far as like access, you have these tropes that are very different. So where does Shamea come into this, and why am I associating with Shamea, and what does Shamea and the way that people are reacting to her have anything to do with this trope if she doesn't fit? That's the point. She doesn't fit. When she grew up with access. She was in the classes. She was in the tap classes, the singing classes, the acting classes. Yeah, she went to a private school. She didn't go to the same high school in Decatur with Porsha and Shamari. She went to a different high school. She went to an HBCU college. We don't know if Porsha got a college degree. We know that Porsha thought there was 265 days in a year. Shout out to her 100 days off, right? But she also thought that the Underground Railroad was a real train. So had sis gone to college, those things would not have been in the front of her brain. So here we have the looks, the brains, the access, Okay, now fast forward, she's in this relationship with this man who has access to this money, who's creating air conditions at airports all over the world or whatever the fuck he's doing with all of this money. She has this estate. Porsha had to fight for her house and she got it out of a divorce that she expedited. And I love Porsha, but the facts are the facts. She expedited the marriage. The way that it came out, he was entangled with a whole nother marriage. There's a gray area, sure, sure. She could figure it out if, sift out the blacks and the whites on her own. But the fact of the matter is, it was messy over here. Meanwhile, Shamea has the house, she has the estate, she has the children. Yes, she's having her children by any means necessary. She has the talent, she has the jobs, she got the gigs, okay? That Porsha wanted. So now Porsha has this one thing, the peach. Can I just have this? Can I just have this? That's one thing. Back to the whole colorism thing. She does not fit into this whole mean girl, dark skinned, ugly girl, African American girl trope. And so the girls are trying to make her that. Okay? Yes. Is Shamea squeaky clean? No, she's not squeaky clean. She does the, little sneaky bloop, 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 blah, 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 drop little seeds, blah, blah, blah. Sure, she may throw her rock and hide her hand, but she's also sensitive. She wants to be everybody's best friend. And a part of being everybody's best friend in this particular group is being shady. Is being shady a part of Shamea's nature? Maybe not. Could she articulate herself in the argument? 100%. But as far as like throwing shade and being catty and all this other stuff, no, she can't help but to be bubbly, which is why she's up under Porsha the way that she is. At the end of the day, she really wants to be Porsha's friend. K. Michelle was 100% right. Now is not the time. This stage right here with all of these girls having this conversation with them, Porsha said it in the beginning. I'm not having this conversation with y'all. But you so in your feelings and you've been drinking wine and throwing drinks back all day. I'm not saying that she was drunk, or maybe she was, maybe she wasn't. I don't know. But she's heavily in her feelings at the fact that her friend is befriending everybody. She's on the island on her own and she's kicking and screaming in an environment that she's not necessarily comfortable in. I get it. I get it. But the fight was nasty. The fight was nasty. You would never be able to bring up my mama. What the hell are you talking about? What the hell are you talking about? You gonna bring up my kid? We talking about my kids. Now we talking about my mama. Baby, we haven't even talked about us. How you talking about all these other people? Let's talk about us. Porsha said, I'm not having my child over at somebody who has done harm or who wants to do harm by me or that I'm not seeing eye to eye with. If it's a priority for you, for your kids to still remain friends, and Porsha is saying to you that we got to get our shit together first, do you think having this conversation in front of everybody is a step in the right direction of y'all getting it together? Sure, you could be hurt about the mother thing, about the Instagram thing, but there's a way to have a conversation about that. And sure, if Porsha is as manipulative and narcissistic as she is, this blow up is not, it's a long time coming. Somebody said that. Like, it's a long time coming. The fact that Kelly is in the van with her, holding her the way that she is, and having Shamea cry in Kelly's big muffin bosom, okay? That's a bosom, okay? That is for sure a bosom. But to have Shamea cry in her bosom is all Shamea wants. She wants somebody to be able to hold her and let her cry through that shit, because who is she going to be able to do that with? I mean, Gerald don't care about that shit. Like, y'all not friends is unfortunate. So, I just want you to be happy, you know? Like, that's all he cares about is her happiness, fine. But he can't provide that emotional comfort that a good girlfriend could give her in the midst of going through a good girlfriend divorce. She's going through a good Judy divorce. A good Judy divorce. And it's hard. Trust me. I know. It's a death that is happening in the midst of her transforming. Now, is this transformation going to change her into the best housewife ever through this? Or is Shamea going to revert back to her big bubbly self? Because even in the freaking previews for the next episode, they walking into the room and she's the fourth person there. It's Shamea. I mean, not Shamea. It's what's her name? Phaedra, Porsha, Pinky, Shamea. With bells on. With bells on. Hopefully there comes a thing, but I don't think they're going to be able to turn this over in one episode for them to fast forward to Phaedra's birthday party and Shamea is all. She can't help but to be that golden retriever. And golden retrievers are not black, they're golden. So I think what's making everybody uncomfortable is the fact that Shamea got the Ritz-Carlton elevator in her house, that she got the mansion and the money and the estate and all of the gigs, and she's talented and all of the things. But Porsha is sacrificing her friendship to maintain her job. Not saying that I agree, but I understand. Or that's my synopsis of it, and that's the way that makes sense to me, to be able for her to be able to still be herself, both of them to still be themselves. Shamea is hurt. She's losing her friend. And Porsha is just ready to move on because she's secure in a spot that she knows that Shamea always wanted as well. So it's like for once. That's all I got. How long we on? Oh, 30 more minutes. That's not bad. But no edits. They're going to cut up the thumbnail the way that it is. And the next time I have a powerful conversation, just meet me back here. Because you're going to want to discuss too. Share with your friends. Share with your family members. And subscribe to the channel. Because I have to go to sleep now. Bye.